Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parijakacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parijakacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, I am sorry I neglected to sing the separation song. But this is the disappearance day of Jagannath Das Babaji and Sri Rasikananda Prabhu, who is a very wonderful disciple of Sri Shamananda Prabhu. So before we begin the class, we'll read a little bit about them. And I may be wrong about this, but I was always wondering why we have the half-day fast, and we have the Pushpanjali for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for Gorkha Shastri Babaji, of course, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, but not for Jagannath Das Babaji. And I was thinking, maybe it's because he's not actually the initiating guru of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I don't know if you realize that. He was the Shiksha guru. But in any case, we'll read about him. Wonderful, important devotee in our line. And let's see. Okay. Siddha Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj lived for 144 years. He took Diksha from Sri Madhusudan Das Babaji and did bhajan for many years at Suryakund in Vrindavan. Thakur Bhaktivinoda received valuable instructions on pure devotional service from Jagannath Das Babaji. His practice was to live 6 months in Sri Navadvip Dham and 6 in Brajamandala. During his time, said Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Sri Jagannath Das Babaji was the most advanced Rasika Vaishnav in Gaur and Brajamandalas, and Purushottam Kshetra, Jagannath Puri. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave him the title Sarvabhauma, the chief of the Vaishnavas. At 125 years old, his body appeared bent like a semicircle. His eyelids hung over his eyes like heavy stage curtains. Standing on either side, 2 disciples would lift his droopy eyelids so he could offer Tulsi Manjaris to his deity of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. Since Jagannath Das Babaji could barely walk, Bihari, his Vrajabasi servant, used to carry him on his shoulders. But whenever there was Nam Kirtan, Jagannath Das Babaji would bolt out of his basket and leap 4 feet into the air. In great ecstasy, he would begin to sing and dance. He performed vigorous bhajan despite physical limitations. He was fond of chanting loudly in both japa and kirtan. During kirtan, he would sing, Nitai ki nama eche re, ki nama en eche re, ki nama dideche re. O Lord Nityananda, what a wonderful name you have brought. O Nitai, what a wonderful name you have given. After chanting almost the whole night, the next morning he would offer 1,108 dandavats to the deities. He was always enthusiastic to serve the Vaishnavas. He lived as an ascetic, following a strict diet and the yearly Chaturmasya, or 4-month fast. The first month he ate only 4 bananas in the evening. Second month, only guavas. Third month, only whey. Fourth month, only boiled banana flowers without salt. Once he begged a roti, a flatbread, from a Vrindavan street sweeper. Hearing about this, the leading men of Vrindavan said to Jagannath Das Babaji, Baba, you are the crest jewel of Braj. It pains us to hear anyone criticizing you, but now everyone is talking against you. They are saying, Baba's gone mad. If he defies the age-old traditions, what will happen to society? Babaji Maharaj replied, you are all learned people. Don't you know the importance of the dust of Vrindavan? It is so surcharged with Krishna prema that even Lord Brahma desires to become a particle of Brajaraj, dust of Vrindavan. Therefore, isn't a Vrindavan sweeper who is constantly serving the dust, breathing it, rolling in it, and bathing in it, more pure than anyone else? Silence filled the air, indicating everyone's acceptance of Babaji Maharaj's reply. While living in Navadvip Dham, Jagannath Das Babaji showed deep respect toward all residents. Even when some puppies ate from his plate, he didn't protest. Bihari, his servant, became disgusted to see dogs devouring his guru's prasadam, and he drove them away. Jagannath Das Babaji scolded Bihari, these puppies are residents of the holy Dham. They are not ordinary living entities. I will not eat until they come back to share the Mahaprasadam from my plate. At the age of 142, he couldn't see or walk. To confirm his findings, Thakur Bhaktivinoda's findings about the actual place of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, doesn't say that here. To confirm his findings about Lord Chaitanya's Yoga Pit, Thakur Bhaktivinoda requested Jagannath Das to see Lord Chaitanya's appearance place. Intoxicated with Gauranga Prem, Jagannath Das Babaji leapt high in the air and began chanting and dancing at the discovery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Yoga Pit. Quote, out of compassion for all the conditioned soul, Jagannath Das Babaji transferred his power of bhajan, knowledge of the Shastras, and prema bhakti directly into the heart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, said Sripad B.V. Narayan Maharaj. Jagannath Das Babaji had many disciples. He often gave the following instructions. 1, you must avoid women, men who associate with women, or with a man who in any way associates with a man who associates with a woman. 2, to realize the supreme goal of life, you must repeat Harinam regularly and steadfastly. Steadiness is so important that it must be maintained even at the cost of one's life. 3, never forget Gaur, who is more merciful and benevolent than Krishna. Krishna is like a just ruler who takes into account your offenses in his administration of justice. Gaur does not take your offenses into account. Whereas Krishna is more interested in the dispensation of justice, Gaur is more interested in the distribution of mercy. From this point of view, Gaur Kirtan is more useful than Krishna Kirtan. Gaur Kirtan means Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Now it doesn't say this here, but my understanding is that he is the one who gave us this Panchatattva mantra. I'll research that and confirm it. 4, so this is different qualities of his. Krishna is the avatar of Dwapara Yuga. Gaur is the Kali Yuga avatar. We should sing the name and glories of the avatar in whose age we live. Just as in a kingdom we praise the ruling king. Jai Sachinandana Gaur Hari, Jaya Sachinandana Gaur Hari. The Sonar Gauranga temple in Gopal Bagh, Vrindavan, houses Gaurnatai deities once worshipped in Suryakund by Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. In Krishna Lila, he serves as Rasika Manjari. Jagannath Das Babaji ki jai. And now we'll read a little bit about Rasikananda, who's also an important figure in our line. Okay. Sri Rasikananda Prabhu, Rasika Murari, appeared as the son of a king. He became a perfect sage, Gaudiya Vaishnava scholar, Rasika Bhakta, and the most beloved disciple of Sri Shyamananda Prabhu. On Shyamananda Prabhu's order, Rasikananda became the head pujari and served his guru's deity of Govindaji with total dedication. His attentive, loving service increased Govindaji's beauty and pleasure. Rasika Murari enchanted the devotees with the unprecedented deity service, his unprecedented deity service. After firmly establishing Govindaji's worship, he accepted Shyamananda's order to preach. He traveled widely for 40 years, influencing everyone with the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It doesn't mention it here, but I think he was preaching mostly in Orissa, if anyone knows for sure. Rasikananda delivered everyone from pious royal families to Muslims, outcasts, agnostics, atheists, and even wild animals. One time, now this is a very incredible pastime, one time some mad elephants attacked Rasikananda. Calmly he chanted, Gauranga, Gauranga, Krishna, Krishna, while sprinkling water on the rampaging beasts. The elephants immediately stopped charging, humbly bowed their heads, raised their trunks, and bellowed, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At the time of, no, it doesn't mention it here, but he initiated one of them, those elephants. Yes, I forgot his name. You never know what you're going to hear when you come to Bhagavatam class. At the time of leaving his body, Rasikananda began a powerful kirtan. Then he left this world by entering into the Chirachora Gopinath deity in Ramuna, Orissa. Devastated in separation, his disciples dropped their mridangas and kartals and their bodies. The Pushpa Samadhis of all these pure devotees stand near the temple. Rasikananda Prabhu's Pushpa Samadhi stands next to Shyamananda Prabhu's near the temple of Radha Shyamasundar. Shri Rasikananda Prabhu ki jai. Wow, I was ecstatic. Okay, now on to Bhagavatam class. Let's see, text 18. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 10th day of March, 2024, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 7, What Prahlad Learned in the Womb, Text 18. Janmadya Shad ime bhava drishta dehasya natmanah bhalanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina janmadyashari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina.
Sorry, the last letter of the first word, is that right?
Janmadyad? No, it should be an H with a dot under it. Oh yeah, maybe you just take the bottom of that D down. There you go. It's the backwards H.
Oh yeah, it is backwards.
That's all right. Everyone knows. All right, who's first? Go ahead. Janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara Govardhan. Janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya Dvijamani. Janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya Vrajamandala. Vrajamandala. Janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara Jalatala. Janmadyakshari me bhava drishta dehasya natmanah palanam iva vrikshasya kaleneshvara murtina. Anyone online?
Janmadyakshari me bhava
Janmadyakshari me bhava
drishta dehasya natmanah
drishta dehasya natmanah
palanam iva vrikshasya
palanam iva vrikshasya
kaleneshvara murtina.
kaleneshvara murtina. In the interest of saving time, I'll just read through myself. You can just listen. Janma adya, beginning with birth. Shat, the sixth. Birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and at last death. Ime, all these. Bhavaha, different conditions of the body. Drishtaha, seen. Dehasya, of the body. Na, not. Atmanaha, of the soul. Palanam, of the fruits. Iva, like vrikshasya, of a tree. Kalena, in due course of time. Ishvara Murtina, whose form is the ability to transform or control the bodily activities. Translation, Prabhupada's translation. Just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes, birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and then death, the material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. However, there are no such changes for the spirit soul. Purport. This is a very important verse in understanding the difference between the spiritual soul and the material body. The soul is eternal, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Jayate mrite vakadachanayam bhudva bhavitava nabhuyaha ajo nityak shaswatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is never birth nor death at any time, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Close quote. The spirit soul is eternal, being freed from waste and change, which take place because of the material body. The example of a tree and its fruits and flowers is very simple and clear. A tree stands for many, many years, but with the seasonal changes, its fruits and flowers undergo 6 transformations. The foolish theory of modern chemists that life can be produced by chemical interactions cannot be accepted as truth. The birth of a human being's material body takes place due to a mixture of the ovum and semen. But the history of birth is that although the ovum and semen mix together after sex, there is not always pregnancy. Unless the soul enters the mixture, there is no possibility of pregnancy. But when the soul takes shelter of the mixture, the body takes birth, exists, grows, transforms, and dwindles, and ultimately it is vanquished. The fruits and flowers of a tree seasonally come and go, but the tree continues to stand. Similarly, the transmigrating soul accepts various bodies which undergo 6 transformations, but the soul remains permanently the same. Ajo nityak shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul is eternal and ever-existing, but the bodies accepted by the soul are changing. There are 2 kinds of soul, the supreme soul, the personality of Godhead, and the individual soul, the living entity. As various bodily changes take place in the individual soul, different millenniums of creation take place in the supreme soul. In this regard, Madhvacharya says, Shadvikarak sharirasya navishnos tadgatasya cha tad adinam shariram cha gatva tan mamatam chajet. Since the body is the external feature of the soul is not dependent on the body. Rather, the body is dependent on the soul. One who understands this truth should not be very much anxious about the maintenance of this body. There is no possibility of maintaining the body permanently or eternally. This is the statement of the Bhagavad Gita 2.18. The material body is antavat, perishable, but the soul within the body is eternal. Nityasyokta sharirinaha. Lord Vishnu and the individual souls who are part and parcel of him are both eternal. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam Katu Upanishad 2.2.13. Lord Vishnu is the chief living being, whereas the individual living entities are parts of Lord Vishnu. All the various grades of bodies, from the gigantic universal body to the small body of an ant, are perishable. But the Supersoul and the soul, being equal in quality, both exist eternally. This is further explained in the next verses. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. Oh, it has red. Oh boy. Okay.
It just went to red. I've got some batteries right.
All right. Thank you for that. She's too efficient. Yeah, we've been missing the monitoring the batteries. Luckily, she's back. Okay, so what we're now, just to bring us up to speed in the context, of course, Prahlad Maharaj, Prabhupada always call him Prahlad Maharaj. He's not a Maharaj yet. We call him Prahlad. He is enlightening his classmates. He himself was in the womb, helpless, but he had the great good fortune to have Narada Muni teach him while he was in the womb. How he learned what the words mean and the basic training, we don't know, but he understood. And so he got completely trained up while in the womb, and he became Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee. So then, as we know from the story we've been reading, that his father couldn't have known that. Nobody knew that, except Narada Muni and his mother, but she was distracted. So when he's raised in the school, his father suddenly realizes, oh my God, he's a Vaishnava, right? He's first instructing his father, you should give up the blind, conditioned, materialistic household life and go to the forest, namely Vrindavan, and take shelter of Hari, Krishna. His father was an arch enemy of Krishna, even before his brother was killed by Lord Vara, but afterward he became even more enraged, He wanted to commit and perform these incredible austerities, hoping to become immortal, but he didn't become immortal, but he became very powerful, and he thought he was immortal. But anyway, so he took over the whole universe. Practically all the demigods were paying obeisances. Even Narada Muni says, I had to pay obeisances, except for Lord Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, of course. So, but then in the most unexpected place, he finds this challenge, right in his courtyard, in the person of his beloved son. He's become contaminated. It's like, in the old days, in the 50s, if your child was hanging out with the wrong people, he might become a communist. Oh my God. So anyway, it happened to me, but luckily my father was a communist, so it was okay. So anyway, so now we've been hearing how his father got more and more upset with him and finally intolerant, and he wanted to have him executed by his henchmen, but they couldn't. He was protected by Krishna, this little 5-year-old boy, just because he's so fixed in remembering Krishna and completely relying on him. And so the Shringadev protected him, Krishna protected him. So now they said, well, okay, he's still a young boy, maybe we can reform him. That's the whole idea. But now Prahlad is taking the opportunity to preach to his classmates, knowing full well that this is even going to enrage his father even more, but he doesn't care. He's completely fearless. He's the ideal preacher, meaning that they go and they take all kinds of risks to spread the science of Krishna consciousness for the benefit of the ignorant. And so what I wanted to do was kind of step back from this a minute and see what the whole lesson is. And the lesson here is that the knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, is the most valuable thing. And this is what the Bhagavatam gives us again and again in different contexts. The knowledge of what the soul is, what the super soul is, what the relation between the soul and the super soul of Krishna, who is Krishna, what is devotional service, all these things. But it begins with each living entity receiving that knowledge, and after who knows how many births in the material world, and in different bodies where you can't receive the knowledge. Only the human form, you see, so it's very rare. So I wanted to step back and share with you a very wonderful little lesson from Rishabhdev, and it's all about this in the 5th canto. I did this a little research. And there are 3 verses. Of course, the most famous one is 551. Nayam deho dehabhajang loke kashtan kaman adate vidbhujange tapo divyam puttakayena sattvam shuddye jisma brahma saukyam tvanantam. So he's giving this is a very heavy verse. It's like, he's about to take sannyas, but it's not like a farewell, and it's not, this is hot sauce he's giving him. And, anyone who's taken the form, there's 100 sons are there, headed by Bharat, and then those who are going to become the 9 Yogendras are also there, So he says, those who have taken the human form of life should not waste their lives in trying to enjoy sense gratification, just like the stool-eating hogs. He uses that phrase, not mine. Rather, you should perform divine austerity. It's tapo divyam, because austerity, as we know from Hiranyakashipu, doesn't have to be divine. It can be demonic also. Austerity makes you powerful, one way or another. You know, no pain, no gain, right? So, but here he immediately says, tapo divyam, putraka, my dear sons. Then what will happen? That putraka, yena sattvam shuddhyed, your existence will become purified. And from that, shuddhyed yasmat brahma saukyam tvanantam. You will be able to become qualified to enjoy endless happiness, unlimited happiness. So that's the contrast right away, his first instruction, between the horrible and temporary sense gratifications enjoyed even by the animals, you know, or Brahma Saukyam means Krishna consciousness. Brahma here is, you know, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and so that the happiness that you can enjoy by engaging in devotional service, anantam, without end. There's an obvious contrast there. So a few verses later, he gives three verses, which I always thought this is a wonderful little self-contained lesson, and it's the same theme about the need for knowledge. So the first verse goes like this. It's 5:5-4. Nunam pramatta kurate vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. Now, if you forgive me, in this particular part of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada put in quite a bit of purport into the translation. So I'm just going to give a summary of the translation. So he's saying, nunam, for certain, it's very, you know, for certain, those are completely mad. Pramattak doesn't just mean mad. The pra means totally, you know, very mad. Who do what? Who perform all kinds of sinful activities, vikarma, against the Vedas, for the sake of indriya priti. It's exactly translated as sense gratification. Indriya priti. Apranoti, they engage themselves for that. He says, nasada manne, sound familiar? These are the same words of Prahlad. He says, he said, what is Tat sadhu manne yasodabhayade? What is the best thing I learned? Sadhu is the best in this. But here he says, nasa is not very good, Father, O sons. My opinion is because by that activity, what the soul is sure to get another body. You see, deha, which is a son, which is temporary, and which kleshada, which inevitably gives all kinds of miseries. And the more sinful you are, the more, you know, horrible and your punishment will be. So that's his first statement. So then the next verse is key, because this comes back to our theme of the need for knowledge. What are you inquiring about? You know, this is the age of attention, right? And you get on the internet and they're following you. Oh, what does he like? He likes this. Okay, we'll advertise this. They'll send this, right? Everything is your attention. It's that's the coin of the realm. So that's the coin of the realm in Krishna consciousness also. What are you thinking about? What are you interested in? What kind of knowledge are you cultivating? So this is that verse. It's a key verse. Probably would quote this a lot, almost as much as the previous one. Padabhavas tavada bodha jato yavan jigyasas atma tattvam yavat kriyas tavade dhammanovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. So parabhavas is defeat, misery. Defeat means that you don't go back to Godhead. You don't even cultivate any devotional service. The worst danger, the greatest danger, Krishna talks about in text in the second chapter, that you're protected by little devotional service, nehabhikripanashostri, is to lose the human form of life. So here he's saying that you are defeated in your mission of life. You will be defeated. This is a very nice thing to learn. You know, we have yata tata in Sanskrit to draw an analogy. It's a very important way of learning, whether it's material or spiritual, like it's used all the time. And yava tavat is another Sanskrit thing. It means basically yavat, as long as you don't do this, it's usually in the negative side, tavat, you won't get this. You see? So there's two of those in this one verse, two pairs. So the first, padabhavas tavad, means you will be defeated in your mission of life as long as you do not inquire into Atma Tattva. Sound familiar? That's the Bhagavatam is the actual commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, on the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with this inquiry. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa means, what am I curious about? What do I want to learn? And it tells you the next verse. Janmadhyasya yataha. You should be inquiring into the absolute truth, the source of everything. And not only the source, Janmadi, Adi is what comes after birth? Sustenance and destruction. Creation, maintenance, and destruction. Who is the source of all of those three? What is the source of all? We learn, of course, it's Krishna. So Bhagavatam is jigyasa, the same word. As long as one does not inquire into the Atma Tattva, the truth of the self, and we learned in the verse today, there's two kinds of Atmas, the individual self and the Supreme Self. So as long as one remains oblivious to that and isn't even interested, then you're sure to be defeated: birth, death, old age, and disease in different forms. So then he has the second part of it continues. Yavat kriyas. Now kriya in this context means fruit of activities, because as long as you don't inquire into the absolute truth, you're bound to be performing fruit of activities. That's your two choices. As marginal potency, you can be absorbed in material energy and trying to enjoy it, or you can be absorbed in Krishna trying to go back to guide it. So yavat kriyas, as long as you are acting fruitively, tavad idam manovai karmatmakam, your mind will remain karmatmaka, full of fruit of desires and fruit of regrets. Why didn't I do this? I could have invested there and I would have made so much money. Or maybe I can invest there, I'll make so much money. So that's karmatmakam, by which, sharira bandha, you remain bound to a body. You see? So the whole thing keys on our willingness to turn our attention toward Prabhupada's books, which is really the source of all of this knowledge. You see? And that's the key. Now the third verse is very interesting also, the conclusion. So the third verse, come on, you can do this. There we go. Evam manak karma vasham payunkte. So here he's simply summarizing. As long as the mind is karma vasham, subjugated by fruit of activities, means it's saturated with fruit of desires, memories, all of the desire seeds that the advertisers try to plant in you, and so that's karma vasham. And priyunkte, therefore, then you will act out of ignorance. Avidya atmani, the soul covered by ignorance, avidya. Ubadiyamane, the covered is ubadiyamane, it's covered by ignorance. Now this next line, is, I practically fell off my asana when I first read this. Priti niyavan mai vasudeve, namuchate dehi yogena tavat. Priti means love. Niyavan, again yavat tavat. As long as there is no love for me, Vasudev, here Rishabh is revealing, I am incarnation of Krishna, Vasudeva. As long as there is no love for me, namuchate dehi yogena tavat, you will not be liberated from the bondage to a physical body. There is no mukti without bhakti. There is only the illusion of it by some fools who try to do it by force and rise up to Brahman and become free of birth, death, and old age and disease. But it's declared, Prabhupada would quote this verse in half his lectures practically. How's it start now? I forget how to say it, but the meaning is that those who simply try to merge into Brahman, they perform severe austerities, and by rising up to Brahma Bhuta platform, they think they're liberated. But their consciousness, their intelligence is actually yen yeda bindaksha vimuktamaninas. These are the demigods that have come to offer prayers to Krishna in the womb, in Devaki's womb. He's about to take birth and appear in the prison house of Kamsa. And they appear there and they're hidden and they're offering these prayers, and one of them is this one. Oh, lotus-eyed Lord, there are others beside your bhaktas who think themselves liberated because they are in Brahma Bhuta, some of them. But I aren't really. Vimuktamaninas tvai ashtabhavad abhishuddha buddhiya. Their buddhi is not shuddha, it's not pure, it's abhishuddha. And then a few of them, very rare, aruha kutrena parang padanda. The Sanskrit is so wonderful, the very word sounds like what it means. The onomatopoeia, Kutrena, what does that sound like? Yes, pranayama, for 100 years out in the Himalayas. I don't care if it's so cold. That's good. That's all right. Hare Krishna. No Hare Krishna. Sorry, that's a mistake. So a few can rise up. Aruha kuchena param padam. Param padam means Brahman. Param padam tata patantyado. But they fall down again because they're not at the lotus feet of Krishna. The soul, we are persons. We are eternal persons. And without that rasa, that relation to Krishna, just being free from birth, death, all it is, it gets boring. Up in the Brahman with nobody's there. Prabhupada says, Kaivalyam narakayate. Such kaivalya is like hell for the devotees. Because there's no Krishna, there's no bhakti, you don't have a body either. You see what I mean? For bhakti there has to be three. Bhagavan, the bhakta, and the bhakti. But in Brahman there's none of that. So it's all simply a big mistake. So that doesn't work. So he says, only by love for me can you actually become free from the bondage of the body. So that's the program. Now it's interesting. I always found this interesting because in the Bhagavad Gita there's quite a bit about, and throughout Prabhupada's books and even in the Bhagavatam also, of inducing us to struggle or try for liberation. Right? Liberation is one of the inducements to practice devotional service. All of the, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, doshana, darshanam. Krishna says this is part of knowledge in chapter 13. To always be aware of the faults and the dangers of birth, old age, disease, and death, repeatedly. So that's a very good impetus to begin bhakti. But as you progress in bhakti, that becomes less and less of your impetus. You don't worry about that, right? And we have the verse in, of course, Lord Chaitanya says, Nadanang najanang nasundanim. He first says, what I'm not asking for. This is what I don't want. I don't want wealth and women followers, the fruits of mundane piety. Then he says what? Liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. Because he says, Janmani, Janmani. What I'm asking for, I want birth after birth. That means no liberation. So that's not a consideration. So what does he want? Unmotivated, pure devotional service. He's teaching us what to pray for. So, but still, in our present condition state, that is a big inducement. And it's not wrong to want that, to strive, because that keeps you on the path. That'll be, then you become serious about practicing. Oh, I can get liberated from birth and death. That's why you find at the big Kumbh Melas that come, millions and millions of Hindus, and now we have non-Hindus coming also, who know that if I could just bathe in the confluence of these three rivers, one of which is invisible, the Saraswati, at the right time, which always is like midwinter, it's freezing cold. Prabhupada took his devotees there. It's great to read it count in Yamuna's biography. It was freezing, And Yamuna and a few others got up early, went into the water, into the river to bathe, like all the other thousands of people. The devotees also had some pipes and things and pumps. But then I just read this, and Giriraj Swami has finished his book, this wonderful book, The Dancing White Elephants. And they're recounting some of the experiences and how many of the devotees, it was too cold. It was like the coldest part of the day, 3:30 in the morning, and it's midwinter. And they just didn't want to get out of their bags, the sleeping bags, to go in Bangalore. And Prabhupada saw that. And so to teach them that they have to undergo that austerity, he himself got up early, in his frail health, and took a cold shower, He didn't say anything, but they got the message. They started going. But these millions of people, they're not thinking, oh, we'll chant Hare Krishna and get liberated. They're thinking we'll just go there and get liberated. So it's a tremendous inducement, because it's logical. Once you understand that you've been through millions of births, and that in each birth, it's birth, old age, disease, and death, and nobody likes that, any one of those, it's suffering. So if we can get liberated by this easy method, we'll do it, so they all do it. But ultimately, for devotees, that goes into the background. And it's this famous nectar verse near the end of the Krishna Karnamrita that Prabhupada would quote. Oh boy. I should have reviewed this verse. Does anyone know it? Bhivamanga's verse? From Bhakti Yoga? No. Anyway, the meaning, maybe it'll come to me like the other one. My dear Lord, if one practices pure devotion unto you, then he gets the fruit of that verse, of that practice, which is liberation? No. Which is a vision of your beautiful adolescent form. And as far as mukti is concerned, she's waiting by the door, Anjali, waiting to serve me. In other words, mukti is, and that's exactly meaning here. Priti niyavan maya vasudevi. By developing love for me, you'll be liberated. Liberation will come in its train. It comes automatically. But it doesn't, it's not your motive for practicing, but it's just one of the wonderful benefits. So, this is the need for cultivating this knowledge, because the previous verse gives it. Unless we're inquisitive and we stay on point, because it's not so easy to remember that you're not the body. You're living in this material world, and we're surrounded by all these, positive and negative sense impressions and things. Especially this time, it's not like we go outside and it's not Vrindavan where everyone says Jai Radhe. You remind there's Krishna. That's why Vrindavan is so wonderful. Just living there, you get reminded of Krishna at every step. But that's not true of Pacific Beach, unless you happen to be circumambulating the temple. But we have to make an effort. That's the point. And Prabhupada really wanted that. I tuned in. By the way, there's some wonderful videos on dandabats.com concerning the festivities in Mayapur. I tuned in, and there was Vijay, our old friend Vijay, sitting under Vyasasan. And there was another Vyasasan set up with Navina Nirada, who's also, Mr. Book Distribution. And then over on Vijay's left was Jai Pataka Maharaj. So it was all about book distribution. It was a wonderful talk, and so it's this is part of what's good about the internet. There's a lot that's very contaminating. So I highly recommend that. And I was just thinking, because what is the book distribution? Is giving people a chance to get this knowledge. That's the whole idea. Prabhupada, he sacrificed his life because he understood that this knowledge has to be made available. It's the only hope for the benighted people of this age, of any age, but especially Lord Chaitanya's movement. So this distribution of books and other efforts to propagate the knowledge, and of course the chanting and the whole process of devotional service is our life force, and it really is the most pleasing thing to Krishna. He says right at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Nachatasmat manusheshu kastume priyakritama, that those who are teaching this science to his devotees, he says, are the most dear. But it shouldn't be spoken, where there's no faith and another. So then Prabhupada says in the class, well, sometimes we hold open classes in Bhagavad Gita, and it comes down to the point that Lord Chaitanya, he didn't do that. Everyone is eligible. Come and chant Hare Krishna, right? There's no prerequisite. Krishna is a little strict. Is that first surrender, and then you can come and get. But that's the mood of this mission, is that everyone gets a chance, and that's why we're sitting here, because we got a chance, even though who's really qualified, nobody. But to become qualified by a little sincerity and being open to hearing. This is the key element, ardent hearing, shushushol, submissive oral reception, which is perhaps, the most graphic description of it. Because you can hear, but not hear. We had an experience the other last Tuesday. I don't know who was in class where a fellow came. He didn't want to hear. He wanted a challenge. It was a Christian. Luckily, it was at the end. I said, well, okay, we're going to have Artik now. So he went outside and began a big debate with Amoga, who was supposed to be on the altar. So we're waiting for the constable, and I went back to, well, what's going on? Amoga Leela. Well, where is he? I didn't know. So I opened the door, and he's out there, and this guy's. So the Moga, come on. But just attending the class is not enough. Every year on Jagannath, on the Rath Yatra in L.A., those who go to L.A., you go down, and when you get down on the Venice Boulevard, or you get down on the beach boardwalk, usually you have the Christians with their signs. Repent, you're going to burn in hell, like that. This various noisy debates going on for a little while, then you turn the corner, But that's not going to help. The submissive oral reception is important. Being eager to hear and read, that it's all there. And Prabhupada has put his life and soul in these books. and getting the association of the pure devotee, and that keeps us enlivened and enlightened, so that we can have the will in order to practice the devotional service, and we can be enthused in giving it to others. Some incredible stories. If you get onto YouTube, that Vijay was telling Sankirtan stories, and he has. If you're not already a member, he has an email group of the Sankirtan stories, of book distribution stories, and they're always like, enlivening. They make your day when they come out. So you can, if you're not yet part of that group, just let me know and I'll send you the link. All right, it's getting late. It's kind of late. Any questions locally or remotely? Hare Krishna. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Bol. Evam mana kama vashampayam.
And do you still have time?
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Who was the guru of Bhakti Vinod Thakur?
I'm sorry?
Who was the of Bhakti Vinod Thakur?
The Diksha Guru was Vipina Bihari Goswami. And there's a whole story about it, which I won't tell you about, but I can tell you offline. Okay?
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.